You won't find a more passionate group of content marketers anywhere else in the world.
This is an event that celebrates all of the how-tos, and you're going to see some of the best and most world-renowned speakers and experts on this topic.
This is where you come to find your people. Join us for Content Marketing World 2022, September 13th through the 16th. We'll see you there.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Thank you for joining me for this Monday Ask the CM World Community Livestream, where each time we dive into a new topic with an awesome guest from our CM World community. This livestream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content marketing. You can learn more at contentmarketinginstitute.com. We have all kinds of great education and resources over there, from our latest news articles, webinars, ebooks, research, so much more. So head over there and after you're done here and check out more about us there. All right, here at CMI, we are gearing up for our big event, just 6 weeks away, the largest content marketing event in the world, Content Marketing World, which we call CM World. So be sure to follow that hashtag across social. It's coming up here September 13th through the 16th in Cleveland and September 20th through 21st online. So if you've been joining me over the last few weeks, we've been interviewing some of our amazing speakers as we are leading up to the event. And when we are done here, you can head over to contentmarketingworld.com to learn more and hopefully register. And you can use the code that's going on the bottom of the screen there to save $100, live 100. So head over there. You can see our agenda and our awesome speakers, besides the one I will be chatting with today. All right, if you know the drill, if you've been joining me, as you come on here, give me a virtual wave, say hello, let me know where you're joining us from. And as we go along here, as always, if you have a question or a comment for us, please feel free to drop it in the comment section and we will try to get to it. If we don't get to it here, we'll try to get to it after the live stream. And I see many of you already joining us from all over the world. We have Uganda, Botswana, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, India, Kenya, Peru. So thank you all for joining us. Again, please feel free to say hello. And I know everyone's using flags and I'm not good on my flag. So I'll have to brush up on that, but I love it. All right, today's topic. Does this sound familiar? You and your team, you spend a ton of time, money, resources, energy on launching a new marketing initiative. Maybe it's something like implementing a new tech tool or revamping a website, only to see it not meet expectations or just plain fail miserably. All that hard work down the drain. The plan may make perfect sense on paper, but it was rejected in practice, all because your team just quite wasn't on the same page. So today, we're going to get some advice on how to implement a big marketing change by creating a compelling change roadmap for your team. All right, today's guest, great friend of ours here at CMI. She's been at Content Marketing World speaking for many years. Jenny Magic is a strategy consultant and a marketing therapist who has helped clients like Citrus, AARP, Experian, Purdue University think differently about the people, processes, workflows, and technology that allow marketing changes to actually stick. She's a certified coach, passionate mentor, top-rated speaker. You'll find her at all kinds of events like ours. Hello, Jenny. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Unfortunately, Melissa was supposed to join us, but she had to make some last minute changes, so she won't be joining us today or at Content Marketing World, but we have Jenny, who is more than prepared for us today. And we have people, I don't know if you saw, we have people all over from all
I love
over
it. I know. That's
joining us
amazing.
today. That's so much, so awesome. All right, Jenny, so you are really, like you said, part strategist, part psychologist, right?
Unofficially, yes, but I spend a lot of time helping people think through why we can't get people to change. I wanted to call this session Why Your Great Ideas Aren't Sticking, because that's really the consequence of not doing the people part of transformation.
So why, I guess this is totally broad, but like in your experience, why do people hate this change so much?
Well, it's really interesting. The research shows that there are 5 reasons that people resist change, and they're really specific. It's purpose, workload, uncertainty, trust, and buy-in. And I'll walk through each one of those. So purpose is when they can't answer what's in it for me or why is this change important. They either don't understand or they don't agree with the logic behind the change. Workload really just looks at their changes in their behaviors, changes in their workload. They really just don't have the time to either do the change or even mentally process the change, right? Third is uncertainty. So they may be wondering, is my job on the line? Who's going to have more or less social capital after this change? They may also have prior experience with failed change. So a lot of times when a new initiative comes along, no matter how shiny it looks, there's that like uncertainty bubbling around that's definitely making them push back. Number 4 is trust. This is where they really don't promise or they don't trust the promised support or incentives that are, as the change gets rolled out, the boss says, don't worry, we're going to hire more help, or you're going to have support, or you're going to have resources. But if in the back of their mind, they're going, yeah, right, you're not going to do those things. And I'm going to be left responsible to do the extra work or responsible when this thing doesn't work out, that can really lead to resistance and adoption. And number 5 is buy-in. If they weren't included in the planning process, they're just much more likely to resist that change. And in this case, they're resisting you just because they weren't included, not because they had specific feedback that would have changed the material decisions of the change. The interesting thing here is that resistance often comes from an emotional place rather than a logical one. So as you mentioned at the top of the intro, a plan can make sense on paper, but if they're not really bought in, then it doesn't really matter. And often they're going to reject the change with quiet non-compliance or subtle excuses. And those are tremendously difficult to deal with because they're not in your face rejection. They'll just sort of not show up or not log in or not do the little pieces of the work. And that leaves the change planners really stuck with no way forward except for threats and punishment. And I don't think any of us wants to get into a battle of wills with our team members, especially not right now.
That's such a huge point. Yeah. The emotional part of it, if you don't get them on board, like I totally understand that for sure. We are talking to Jenny Magic, a strategy consultant, marketing therapist, about marketing alignment or a team alignment for marketing transformation. If you have a question for her as we go along, please feel free to drop it into the comments. All right, so company brand, they spent all this time on this marketing initiative, it fails. What usually causes it to fail, and what mistakes are they typically making?
Yeah, well, I will talk about more of these at Content Marketing World, but the top 3 things I think that sabotage change are misaligned goals. This is where the main message is do it for the company. It's the right thing to do for the company. But unless the organization is really excellent about profit sharing and other team-based incentives, most workers are just not motivated by improving the organization's bottom line or executive bonuses, right? So we really need to think about this may be great for the company, but it really needs to translate into a goal that your individuals can get behind, right? The second thing I think that really sabotages change is group speak. This is when a change is presented in a large organizational meeting or some other kind of group setting, and everybody sort of nods along, and the executive or the change leader is like, okay, they all agree, we're on board. That definitely does not mean that everybody is on board. There's definitely some resistance baked into the back of their brains, and we need to figure out a way to understand and address that in a almost a person by person basis, is what ends up happening. And then the third, and what I think is the biggest one, is lack of team alignment. So I define team alignment as having what researchers call psychological safety on the team. Do they speak openly and consider all perspectives? Is there a healthy attitude towards risk and failure? Are they genuinely willing to help each other reach shared goals? Teams that are good at changes, big and small changes, are working on these elements all the time. And research shows that you'll get tons of benefits in terms of employee retention and innovation as well if you get better at this. So this isn't something just to think about when you're going through a change, but if you can build that team alignment all throughout the process, your change is going to be a lot easier.
Great. We have, like I mentioned, thanks for all of you who letting us know where you're joining us from: Egypt, Aruba, Nicaragua, all over, London. All right. So these are all, this is all great, but I want to start this new initiative. So where do I start? Is it with the training, communication? I mean, what should be like your first step? What does this roadmap kind of look like?
Absolutely. So obviously, if buy-in is such a key part of removing resistance, the first and most important thing you can do is get their input when you're deciding what's going to change and how it's going to change, so that the purpose becomes their own. The best way I know how to do this is to really think about pressure testing and pre-launching with key influencers before all the final decisions are made. If you're thinking about change communications in terms of launching the new initiative, launching the new website, launching the new project management tool, whatever the change is, you're missing a really key step, because we know some teams get hung up on who should know what when. So they kind of go down the org chart, right? Like, who is going to make the decision that this thing's a go, and who's going to have to do their work differently. And those people may get consulted. But there's large groups of people who have big influence on the success or failure of the process, kind of sprinkled throughout the org chart. So I tend to prefer throwing out the org chart, doing an influencer assessment where we're trying to think about who's interested in this kind of change and how much influence do they have. And high on that matrix, we're going to want to have some confidential conversations so they can really talk about their concerns. And they can really help us acknowledge failures in past change, past transparency and trust failures. We can kind of, in a one-on-one way, think about who is going to help us or hurt us when this thing goes live, and how can we have those conversations in advance. Often these are conversations that can be facilitated by an outsider, so that there's a safe space for that to happen. An outside consultant can come in and talk to folks who are going to navigate this change, and they can share their honest truth, and then that person can roll up the concerns and feedback and themes. So if you're not trying to find ways to get honest, authentic feedback and buy-in, then that is definitely a key first step. The other important thing I would say is making sure you are removing items off their plate in equal proportion to what you're adding. So if we're asking folks to spend time on an advisory committee, or as part of a pilot project, or thinking about how this change is going to impact their team, or changing workflows or processes, or whatever needs to happen for this change, just acknowledge that that takes time. Those are meetings they weren't attending before. Those are thought processes that they have to sit down and spend time with. Those are people on their team that they're going to have to bring along. And if we're not thinking really clearly about what's going to either be paused or removed from that person's workload, if we're just piling on, then it really, really is not, they're not going to feel supported. And they're going to have a really hard time getting enthusiastic and energized about whatever the change is, if it just feels like an extra set of burdens on their plate.
Yes, being mindful of that. I mean, I think a good organization would anyway, if they recognize and appreciate their employees, that hopefully they would consider that as well. All right, you say you can adapt familiar content marketing frameworks like persona or customer journeys to your internal team to plan for greater success. So can you kind of give an overview maybe of what else you are going to talk about at Content Marketing World?
Absolutely. So, the same tools that help us customize our marketing messages work beautifully in any sort of change initiative. So, really, we're just thinking about our internal audience the same way we often think about our external audience. Um, you know, Frankly, we have to look at change as a campaign. This is a campaign to change behaviors. And just like customers don't buy just because of features and benefits, your staff isn't going to change what they're doing just because of a P&L or their boss says so, right? So, what is the change journey using journey mapping and personas that we're going to have to ask our internal team to go on? Which groups of people are going to be more likely to adopt this change? Which folks are going to be laggards or slow adopters? Are we going to communicate and train them differently? Identifying those groups who are going to respond similarly can help us streamline our planning, target messaging, and think about things like incentives and rollout timelines according to where people sit in the organization and how the change is going to affect them. So, very familiar tools, just maybe putting on a different hat when we use them.
Awesome. Sounds like a great session at Content Marketing World. So if you're going, sign up for her session. Or if you haven't even registered yet, go do that. Then sign up for Jenny's session. Jenny, you've been at Content Marketing World how many years now?
I think 2012 was my first one. So it's
Wow.
been 10 years this time
Wow.
coming back. I'm super excited to be coming back in. It's my favorite group of people. It's the one conference that I will spend time, energy, money getting to, whatever, because it's just such a resourceful group. I love it.
Awesome. So tell people where they can find you. They want some more
Yeah.
information about you.
Absolutely. My website is betterwaytosayit.com. I would love to take your questions, feedback, talk to you about whatever change initiatives or marketing strategies you have coming up, and just reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. As I said, head over to contentmarketingworld.com to learn more about the event and hopefully register. Let me know if you have any questions about the event in general. We have online options and in-person options. And before I leave you all today, I'm going to leave you with this little video in case you missed it at the top of the interview. And thanks, Jenny. Have a great day. And thanks to all of you.
You bet.
You won't find a more passionate group of content marketers anywhere else in the world.
This is an event that celebrates all of the how-tos, and you're going to see some of the best and most world-renowned speakers and experts on this topic.
This is where you come to find your people. Join us for Content Marketing World 2022, September 13th through the 16th. We'll see you there.